How's it going, everyone? It is I, Anime Outlet, and this is part 5 of What If Deku Had Sunshine. And now, let's begin. Hey Zuku, did you hear? Today we're supposed to choose our hero names. Wait, really? That's quite cool, but I really haven't been thinking about my hero name at all. I've just been focused on training mostly. All of a sudden, a teacher would end up walking in. This would, of course, be their homeroom, teacher being Shota Izawa. Hello, class. Today we are going to be choosing your hero names like some of you may have heard. But I'm not going to be helping you and assisting you with this. We'll have one of our most enthusiastic teachers do that. You may know her as Midnight. As Midnight would then walk in before outing to the class, "Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be using your hero names. So let's get started." As Midnight would then pass out a bunch of whiteboards and markers to everyone, as they would then be told once they have their hero name and everyone is finished, they'll have 30 minutes to find out what their hero name is, discuss with each other and all of that, and then they will be forced to walk up to the podium and tell everyone what their hero name is. They'll be doing this in alphabetical order. So as the whiteboards were handed out, Izuku would just be thinking, I could possibly get the tag the Sun Hero, but what should my actual hero name be? Something hot or burning. That'd actually be quite cool. Lava, no. Volcano, yeah, that just doesn't sound right. Almost as quickly as it came, it went. The 30 minutes were up, and Izuku had to quickly write down a hero name. Not really sure what to do, as he just couldn't think of anything. He had asked some of his peers for help, but they just were unsure, just like Izuku. So as Izuku quickly scrambled to write down a hero name, all of his classmates were forced to come up to the board one by one. As his name would end up being called, he would walk up onto the board before showing everyone his hero name. "I will be known as the Sun Hero, Soup." As the class would burst into laughter, Izuku had just randomly come up with the name Soup. Where did soup come from? Like, the food? Why would... The class just couldn't comprehend why Izuku chose his name Soup. And they also couldn't understand quite a bit after this why Todoroki had just made his hero name Shoto, his first name. They just really couldn't think of anything on why these two people couldn't think of a good hero name within 30 minutes. It just didn't make sense. So with Izuku's hero name being Soup, he would end up being told that he could still change it, but it's really not suggested, as you can do whatever with your hero name, but once you become a hero and get your quirk license, you're going to want it on your license, so you really shouldn't change it afterwards. Izuku would be thinking long, hard, sitting in his dorm room, wondering, why the hell did he choose Soup? Soup? Really? Where did that come from? Izuku would ask himself. As the next day would end up following, they were all sitting in class, as Aizawa would then walk into the room. "Alright, class, since you have now chosen your hero names yesterday, we can now begin some other things, such as teaching you the basics and ropes of being a hero. Sure, you've been trained to the caliber of what some basic level heroes are, but now you need to just be trained on the knowledge of one and how to escape a situation if you are gravely injured." Aizawa would go into some details before explaining how you can escape, hide in the shadows, or flank your enemy as quickly and easily knock them out. Knockout techniques to escape chokeholds or strangleholds, all different types of holds, or if you're in captivity, all different types of things on how to escape. After that, Aizawa would lead them all back to the classroom, where there would be a pile of paper sitting on each one's desk. Some people had one sheet of paper with a bunch of names written on it, while others had tons of papers like Izuku. So Izuku would scroll through the paper and would end up finding a random name. He would end up just pulling something out of his pocket. It'd be a coin. He would toss it into the air after spreading 3 sheets of paper on his desk while the others were sitting on the floor. Whichever name the coin landed on would be whichever he would end up going to. As the coin fell down, it landed perfectly on its edge, right on top of a name. Izuku would pull it up, as he would then see who his hero he was going to be internship for was. it was Mount Lady. For some odd coincidence, one of his other classmates had also chosen Mount Lady. This, of course, would end up being Mineta. So with Izuku sitting there, just wondering, oh, great, my hero name's Soup, and I have to go deal with Mount Lady. It's gonna be just a weird internship full of strange experiences. As Izuku would say this, he would then be told that they are actually leaving to their internships right now, as Aizawa would push all of their classmates out of the room before telling them to go put your hero costumes into your briefcase to travel onto a bus, as your bus will be stopping all around the different stops of certain cities, and that's basically you're going to be dropped off where your your internship is in their agency. So Izuku and Mineta would end up being dropped off in the dead middle of Hosu City, where Mount Lady's agency happened to be. She was the only one working for the agency, so when they walked in, it would just be her. Oh, hello. I guess you're the two people who've chosen to internship for me. Well, I guess you should get started with some chores, as she would hand Izuku and Mineta a mop and a broom for them to start sweeping and cleaning the office, as it had been quite the mess. Izuku would just facepalm even further. They were supposed to be getting hero experience, and here he was doing the dirty work of some random hero agency. Izuku would be forced to do all this cleaning, while Mineta was easily scraping away as quickly as he could to hope to impress Mount Lady, as it just seemed to be not working at all. Mineta would just use this as motivation to continue on working, while Izuku would have no motivation at all. It was a very dumb exercise, and Izuku just couldn't care less for this. Sure, he would still sweep, but he really wouldn't try at all. This wasn't like what he wanted to be doing out fighting. Mount Lady, however, would come up to Izuku before speaking to him. You know, if you're not going to try at this, what makes you think you're going to try it being a hero? Izuku would plainly look at Mount Lady before just speaking. You know, it really seems like you're just being lazy, sitting on that couch eating potato chips while you got two people to internship for you, and you're not even taking them out to experience the real world as a hero. You're just making a slave away, cooking and cleaning and all of this random stuff for you, when we should be out in the real world fighting villains. It really seems quite lazy. I'd actually try if this was my own house, but I'm doing this for no reward or nothing in favor that I could actually be gaining, like knowledge. Mount Lady would just look dead on at Izuku before just saying, oh, okay, I guess you have a point then. Why don't we go out and fight some villains? As he would then be told to go put his hero costume on along with Mineta, as once they did, they would then be walked out after seeing Mount Lady have her hero costume on, who would then direct them off to where they were going to be just looking around. After that, Mount Lady would bid farewell to the receptionist at the desk, as they would then walk around just searching for a place any villains happened to be. Izuku would end up seeing a few villains within alleyways. However, Mount Lady told them she really couldn't do much at all. Her hero agency had actually told her to cut back on all the property damage, and she really didn't want to risk anything by stopping in between a very narrow alleyway. So that left Mineta and Izuku to do the work. So with her watching in supervision, Izuku would end up rushing towards the villains with his axe, pulling out his sacred treasure before slamming it up against the head of one of them, as it would then ring like a bell before falling down to the ground completely unconscious. The other villain would look on in shock before pleading for just surrender, saying that, please don't hit me like that. I don't think I could take something like that. As Izuku would just look over towards Mount Lady, who would then walk into the alleyway before putting handcuffs on them. Izuku would just see how Mount Lady really seemed like a lazy hero and only was in it for all the fame and glory, along with after seeing just all of the fan posts about her and everything, about how everyone adored her, Izuku just really didn't think Mount Lady was much of a hero at all, and was more of someone who just wanted to be an internet celebrity. So Izuku would continue on fighting all of these random crimes until one day Mount Lady had decided to give them temporary hero licenses, so without their permission they could go around just fighting villains. But please don't get in trouble, as my hero agency would possibly be under fire if you did something stupid. So after that, they would then split up, in the deep of morning, as the day would end up passing slowly by as nothing seemed to be happening. It was just completely bare and dry of all life and villainy. So with Izuku searching for any villainous acts, he couldn't really find anything. Mineta had been just following Izuku around as they were told to stay in a group, as Mount Lady would end up running off to go fight other villains throughout the city. Izuku and Mineta were just searching around, not able to find anything. However, once night fell, Izuku had finally found something big. Fire started to erupt out of Hosu City. However, Izuku would already tell that it was going to be taken care of. As Izuku was heading towards it, though, to help out anyone being there, Izuku would end up stumbling upon an alleyway, where he would end up looking right into it, sensing something was wrong. There he would see two glowing red eyes staring directly at Izuku and Mineta. Izuku would grab Mineta, who was talking something about Mount Lady, grabbing a hold of his mouth, pushing him backwards, as the person who was hunched over would then stand up. "I know you're there. You're not fooling anyone." Izuku would look down to see two bodies laying on the ground. One was hunched over against the wall, while the other one looked like it was paralyzed, completely motionless, right up against the ground. Izuku would look on to see a very shiny-looking armor, as he would realize that was Ida, one of his classmates. He would look on to see another hero there, though he couldn't recognize it. As the figure would then rush over towards where the alleyway would end up ending, as Izuku would jump in, his axe now in hand, and would slash down on the two blades that the wielder had beholden or was holding in his hands. "Oh, so now I see who you are. You're the hero killer, Stain. Well, I guess since I finally met you, I could finally end your career of villainy." As Stain would dare glare right at Izuku before laughing. "Oh, sure. You think you can beat me? I haven't even heard of you. You think you could beat someone like me? I think I'm truly more powerful than you. Look at these two fake heroes. One was searching for revenge for one of his injured brothers, though I couldn't even remember him because he was forgettable. And then look at this one, only in it for the money. It's quite sad." Izuku would stare on at Stain before yelling that his ideals were corrupt. Killing is not the way to go, as it just wasn't right. Getting your ways and ideas through illegal activity just wasn't right at all. It shouldn't be done. You should try to do it through more peaceful methods and other ways. It was just simply chaotic to try and kill every corrupt hero. As there was far too many of them, he should try to become a hero and say how corrupt heroes were bad. It was very obvious, as Stain would only jump right back at Izuku, trying to stab him with one of his swords. However, with an uppercut from his axe, Stain's sword would then shatter completely just into a million pieces, as Stain would throw the hilt of the sword right at Izuku, as Izuku would slice it right in half. Izuku would jump back onto the lone street where no cars happened to be passing by because of the fire that was going on down the street a couple of miles away. Izuku would ask for Mineta to throw some of his cork things at Stain, as Mineta would then start to just pop off his cork from his hair and just chuck it all across the alleyway, completely sticking it everywhere, as Izuku would rush over towards Stain before pushing him back and slicing up with his sword, or his axe rather, as Stain would try to block it with one of his blades. However, it would shatter once again from the sheer power of Izuku's slash. Stain would then grab two knives out of his pockets before laughing. "I never thought someone could break such a strong blade. But no matter. They should still be able to off you with just a singular knife." As Stain would rush towards Izuku, with Izuku jumping backwards into the alleyway, flipping over Stain, as he was now standing right in the alleyway. Mineta would continue on throwing all of his cork as his head would start to bleed. Mineta would then stop using his cork as the alleyway was then filled with his cork and his purple things that had popped off of his head. As Izuku would then laugh. "I'm gonna suggest you don't come in here, or else it will be your demise. You're not gonna be able to survive something like this." as Stain would rush in towards Izuku. However, Izuku would then swing his axe like a baseball bat, hitting Stain with the blunt side of it, or the flat side of his axe, as Stain would then be sent flying towards the wall, where he would then hit some of Monetta's pop-off cork, where he would then be stuck to the wall. Izuku would ask Monetta to call the police, as he just took care of all of the heroes sitting in the alleyway. So Monetta would break out his phone before calling the police, saying that they had captured the hero killer. The police asked who it was, as Monetta would then say his hero name along with Izuku's. They were not known at all, having not stopped any crimes on their own. Remember, these are temporary hero licenses, and this is the first crime they're stopping with this hero license. So, as the police would end up rolling up, they would end up seeing both Izuku and Monetta sitting there, as the police would then get out, as many other cop cars would end up rolling up. So, you are... who? Monetta would say his hero name, as Izuku would then say his. Oh, I'm the sun hero, Soup. Izuku and Monetta would both hand their temporary hero license, as the police would then look down at him. Yep, this checks out. I guess you are a hero. Although I've never heard of you. Is this your first time just stopping a villain? Oh, yeah, this is our first time stopping a villain as a pro hero. As the police would then look on in shock. Man, we've heard of so many pro heroes who stopped hundreds of crimes falling to the hero killer. It's insane how your first stop would end up being the hero killer. That's quite strange. I guess you're gonna get a lot of publicity in the news. I suggest preparing to be famous overnight. As the police would then capture Stain after with the help of Monetta and Izuku holding him down, where they would then put cord-canceling handcuffs on him and tying him up just so he couldn't move any further, with Izuku saying that he was extremely acrobatic. So with them putting him into an armored cop car, they would then transfer him to a prison, as ambulances would end up going and picking up both Ida and the hero that was sitting up against the wall, transferring them off to the hospital. As Izuku would then be there, a news truck would then end up coming over, rolling in after the police would end up leaving. So, folks, today we have come here live after meeting the two heroes that had managed to stop the hero killer known as Stain. So, what are your two names? Oh, I'm the sun hero named Soup, and this is, as Monetta would then say his hero name, as they would then ask, I've actually never heard of you two heroes, so what type of crimes have you stopped before? Oh, this is actually our first crime ever stopping things. We just happened to be strolling on by this alleyway on our way to the fire over there, which there used to be one. It seems to have stopped thanks to some other pro heroes, I'm guessing. But we were just on our way and found out this hero killer was in here happening to take down some of our other fellow heroes. So we decided to stop in and give Stain a visit. And it turned out lucky because we managed to stop him and put him in jail. So hopefully his days of hero killing are over. As Izuku's saying all of this, the news reporter would then nod their head before turning back to the camera. You heard it here first, folks. This is the two pro heroes that have managed to stop the hero killer. Isn't that insane? Not even the number 2 hero, Endeavor, could even stop him. And now we have these two heroes who actually, this is their first stop fighting and defeating a villain. And they even managed to defeat the hero killer. Isn't that insane? As Izuku and Monetta would then walk off, as the reporter would then continue on reporting on what had happened, as Izuku and them would end up walking off. The next day, Izuku would be walking in to the classroom, as he would then sit down. The internships have ended, as the class would then just be sitting there. Once they would enter, they would all stare at Izuku and Monetta. How the hell did you two stop the hero killer? How did you not get scared at all? As Izuku would then just laugh. Well, me and Monetta were able to work together and were easily actually able to defeat him. Because we used his quirk to basically secure him, managing so he couldn't move off of a wall that I had managed to hit him onto. It was actually quite cool having to talk to the police and a reporter. I think I'd get used to being a hero. Can't wait to be the number 1 hero after all. Izuku would then get a flashback as he would end up being walking back into Mount Lady's hero agency to give back the temporary hero license. She would be sitting just in a couch looking at directly at the door in the dark. As Izuku would flick on the light to give it to him, she would then stare right at both Izuku and Mineta. So, it appears you two managed to stop the hero killer. That's quite the feat. Now, can you tell me how the heck you managed to do that? As Izuku would then sort of laugh. As the flashback would fade out, Aizawa would end up walking into the room. Congratulations, Izuku, on doing that. It appears you've built up quite the public figure. Many people actually started calling you one of the best heroes, actually, having stopped someone that had caused fear in the hearts of many for months now. So I suggest being prepared for when you graduate this high school for soup action figures almost immediately. It's something All Might had to deal with and really wasn't prepared for, so I suggest you start preparing for crazy people like that. And also crazy people that want to try to break into your house and possibly do some random crap to you or become friends with you just because you're a pro hero. And that brings me to today's lesson. So now that all of you know how hard it is to be a pro hero, we're going to talk about people that are going to try to use you because of your title of being a pro hero. And that is where I'm going to leave this What If off, everyone. I hope you all did enjoy part 5 of What If Deku had sunshine. I'm really enjoying the series so far, and I hope you all are too. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.